My grandfather was a member of the Alpini, which is the Italian Alpine Special Forces. And my understanding is he left Italy when Mussolini took over because he did not want to be part of the fascist regime in Italy. And he came to the United States and went through Ellis Island in New York and wound up, for some reason, in West Virginia. I think there was a very large Italian population there, and he wound up in West Virginia and started mining coal. My grandfather was literate. He could read and speak a little bit of English. My grandmother could not read and spoke. She said she spoke no English, but I think she spoke enough that she could understand everything we were saying. It just worked better for her to pretend that she didn't speak English. So she spoke almost all Italian. My mother was indeed a coal miner's daughter in every sense of the word. My grandfather mined coal for, I would say, 30 years, a long time. And everybody he knew mined coal, and I had some of my older uncles, family members, all mined coal. And every time there was a mine cave-in or disaster in West Virginia, we would know somebody who was in that cave-in. And my grandfather actually died about a year after my mother died of coal workers' pneumoconiosis, which is black lung, a disease that killed a lot of coal miners back in there. So my grandparents, who I did not know very well, my father's parents, worked in a soap factory. And my father, when he was young, when he was 13 or 14, sold newspapers. And the family story was that my father, as a 14-year-old, ran numbers for the Capone mob. But he was the first person in his family to go to college. And at that point, I think it was around $20 a credit per semester. And he got all that money from selling newspapers. And then decided to go through the ROTC program and become an officer in the Army. And so he went to World War II to fight in China, Burma, and India, the CBI theater. And at a very young age, at around 30, 26 to 30, he became a lieutenant colonel during the war and commanded an all-black transportation regiment. There weren't a lot of black officers. My father was dark, and so they put him in charge of this black regiment. My father also fought in Korea and was in combat in Vietnam at the same time my older brother was in combat in Vietnam.
He was the smartest of the household. He was salutatorian of his high school. He graduated with honors at the University of Georgetown. Everything he touched, educational-wise, was 100%. He currently is drawing a pension from the Army as a full colonel with a credit of 20 years service.
His first wife left him and left my older brother when they were 5. So my father had to leave Korea to take care of my 5-year-old brother. And 10 to 12 years later, my dad is stationed at the Pentagon, and my mother happens to be a secretary. About 8 months later, I came along. And a year after that, my sister, Philomena, good Italian name. And then, 7 years after that, my little brother came along. My father had my little brother when he was 51 years old. Talk about brave. That's brave. And then, unfortunately, again, my father has terrible luck in that my mother dies at age 41. She goes upstairs one morning and has a cerebral aneurysm and drops dead. I am, I guess, 11. My sister's 10. My brother's 4. My father is once again left on his own to raise young children.